Welcome to the 23rd episode of the second season of The Pulpiteer. I'm your host, Eric Hepburn, and I'm glad to have you join us for today's episode. Today's episode is about the U.S. detention of immigrants. It was inspired by my recent trip down to the detention center outside of Dilley, Texas. We'll begin with our Great World House segment and then move on to our word of wisdom delivered by Molly Hornbuckle. Now we pause to honor the Great World House of which we are a part, lifting up the needs, the hopes, and the voices beyond these doors. This week we're centering something even closer to home than Minnesota, or even Dilley, Texas. The Austin, Texas metro region consists of 5 counties. In Williamson County, Georgetown High School students organized a protest around the Williamson County Courthouse Square. In Hayes County, students from Barton Middle School, Hayes High School, Live Oak Academy, Johnson High School, and Lehman High School walked out and marched to downtown Kyle. In Bastrop County, students from Bastrop ISD, including Bastrop High School, participated in walkouts and marched through downtown Bastrop. In Caldwell County, Lockhart High School students reportedly participated in walkouts. In Travis County, students from multiple AISD campuses, including Keeling Middle School, Marshall Middle School, Crockett High School, Eastside Early College High School, and McCallum High School, all participated in walkouts. When young people take to the streets, they are not the danger. They are telling us that the danger is already in the house. That something in the adult world has drifted far enough off course that the young feel compelled to raise the alarm. What is our work? What is this congregation's work amidst that alarm? To hear the alarm. To respond to the danger that prompted the alarm with the kind of compassionate composure that says this: we see what you see. You are not alone. Together, we will ring this alarm. Together, we will face this danger without panic. Together, we will face this danger without panic. Amen.
Let us enter a still space within, opening our hearts and minds to receive this voice of wisdom. After the words are spoken, we will breathe together in silence, preparing ourselves for the word unfolding in us. Today's voice of wisdom comes from Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music in the heart.
This is how I showed up on the streets of Dilley a week and a half ago. I hope you'll apologize. I hope you'll accept my apology for the theatrics. But we use theatrics to convey something that's hard to put in words. Something deep that we feel that we need to share with each other. Now, the truth is, this isn't the main message that y'all need this morning. You don't need your outrage at the inhumanity, injustice, and dehumanization that's happening stoked further. When I look out there, I don't see people existing in blissful ignorance about what's going on. It is right and good and appropriate that we are noticing these things, that we are speaking with our friends and colleagues and marching in the streets and supporting our students who are doing so. All important, all good. We just got through a cold snap in this Howard Thurman reading. If you don't know who Howard Thurman is, you should put him on your reading list. He's transcendent. To heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner. To heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner. The first one made me cry today because they said to find the lost. In Michelle's story of finding a lost sibling, a lost brother, came up for me. I don't want you to not be angry about the injustice. But I'm not going to surprise you, I hope, when I tell you that I'm not sure more angry people is the solution to the problem. Anger might be what we would say necessary, but not sufficient. So if anger is necessary, but not sufficient, what does sufficiency look like? What does this moment demand of us? With regard to the injustices that are happening, we are called to bear faithful witness to what's happening, and that means naming reality without flinching away from it. The detention of migrants, especially children and families, is not merely a political dispute. It is moral injury occurring in public view, funded by our own tax dollars. I need you to hear that. I'm not saying that it's not coercive. I'm saying you don't get off the hook because it's coercive. You are part of this system. You are part of the system and the country and the culture that is doing this. And if you are in denial about that, you will think that all of your anger should be facing outward. And all of your, what do I do, how do I change, will be facing outward. Richard Rohr says this, he says, the problem of modernity is scapegoating. So if you want to know what disheartens me the most at these protests that I go to, and you've heard Keith and I talk about it, people doubling down on the scapegoating. Well, it's the billionaires. If they would just be disappeared. Wait, does that sound like genocide? Maybe. If they would just be disappeared, suddenly everything would be better again. Everything would be okay if it just wasn't for those people. Do you hear that? Whose logic is that? It's the same logic, friends, that's got some people locking other people in cages. If we could just get rid of them, our problems would be gone. I need you to invite you to this disillusionment. This movement needs you, but it needs you to not show up as somebody so angry and dysregulated that all you know how to do is blow out your disappointment and your trauma on people who are blowing out their disappointment and trauma on the most vulnerable among us. I need to invite you to step out of that cycle because I want you to be part of breaking it with me. I want you to be part of breaking that cycle with me. And you can't do it if you're participating in the cycle of harm. Now, we talked about the value of theatrics, and I put on my scarf the way that I showed up to the protest. Now, at some point, as we were marching the 2 miles in Dilley, Texas, from where we started to the detention facility, it got hot. This is not surprising, it's Texas. So even in January, it got hot, and this thing's made out of wool. So, at some point I had to turn this thing into what it was supposed to be. It's a belt. Originally, in the Quechua tradition, it's a belt, so changed it. And at some point, as I'm marching down, I realized that the people I was marching with needed the other side of this sign more than the ICE people needed to see this side. If you are a detainee, I love you. If you are an ICE agent, I love you. If you are a protester, I love you. Why? Why? Why is that the sign? That's what breaking the cycle looks like. Oh. Thank you, Michelle. Love is at the center. But it's not, as MLK felt called to preach, it is not a sentimental thing. It is not a nostalgic thing. It is the deepest meaning of what the Buddhists mean when they say namaste. I see the light in you that is also in me. We are not separable from one another. Now, let me tell you, I'm walking a razor's edge today because I believe in protest solidarity. So my goal is not to throw shade on the people who were in Dilley, Texas with me. And I have another obligation. And that obligation is to tell you as honestly and earnestly as I can what you need to become if these protests are to become something different. If these protests are going to become the catalysts we need them to be, they are not tools where an administration gets shamed into releasing 2 kids while thousands more remain in detention. That's not the end goal. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad that we did something, and it looks like as a proximal cause of what we did, we got some children who should not have been in detention out of detention. That's awesome. Let me tell you, in my fantasy world, what is a great outcome of this? What would a great march have looked like? If I could paint the picture-perfect march, this is the vibe. We arrive at the front gates, and one by one, the ICE agents, through the faithful witness of our love and the invitation, you don't have to do this to make a living. You don't have to do this to play out your fears and anxiety on other folks. Come with us. We will accept you and love you. We will help you find new work to do in our community together. Work that makes the world better, not worse. But I want you to, for a minute, put yourself in the shoes of an ICE agent. You're standing there with a weapon, and you've been taught to fear everything. Everyone is a danger. Now, possibly you've spent your life working in prisons or other systems. The cost of crossing that line is your whole life. You feel me? The cost is every friendship you have. your job, your security, your ability to feed yourself and your family. All of it is on the line. So when I see fellow marchers walk up and try to shame those people by telling them what a disappointment they are and how awful they are, screaming curse words at them, I'm like, you're just doing the same thing. And this is not to defend that what they've done is okay. We know it's not okay. You know I'm not an apologist. But if we believe in the universality of humanity, if we believe that none of us are past redemption, then we have to ask the question, what tactics and strategies might translate into our best outcome? For me, the best outcome was, one by one, those ICE agents take off their gun belts, put them down, and cross the picket line. And when all of us are on this side of the line, we walk in and we unlock the cages. And everybody walks out. That is the vow of the Bodhisattva. I'm not going to heaven. I'm not going to enlightenment without you and you and you. We're all going together or none of us is going. So, if you ask me what a great protest would look like, that's what it would look like. Have we ever seen it in the history of humanity? Not that I know of. But do you feel the different energy of that? We're never going to get to that with shame and demonization and more dehumanization. We're not going to get to that. Gandalf says something that I love, which is a similar way of saying that J.R.R. Tolkien says something that I love. He says, it never was more than a fool's hope. It never was more than a fool's hope. It's not the high percentage play. I'm not asking you to get deeper into your mind and calculate the probabilities. I'm asking you to let your mind go and trust this. Trust your heart, trust your spirit. There is a narrow way out of this terrible moment. But your brain is not going to get you there. Your brain is going to keep trying to imagine how it can manipulate other people instead of being present for them. Your brain is going to try and tell you why, if you win the next election, it's going to be different than the last time you won an election and nothing really changed. Y'all feel that? Right? How many of you have sat on the front side of an election excited, and then in the back end, you're like, meh. The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. Just one wisdom expression of this conundrum. All right, I'm going to go back to my cheat sheet now. So, a few little tidbits to share with you. And we had a long service today, so I got to wrap this up. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a mentor named Ernesto Nieto. And he was a farm worker advocate, a Latinx advocate and social justice worker. And in his writing, he says, whenever you are dealing with someone, you must leave them a golden gate of retreat. A golden gate of retreat. A way out of the scenario that allows them to retain their human dignity. A way out of the scenario that allows them to retain their human dignity. You can't think on your side of the protest line about offering a golden gate of retreat to someone if you've already convinced yourself that they have no humanity left. What are you leaving a gate open for? And who would walk through? You have to see namaste. You have to see the humanity even in your enemy if you want to use this strategy, and it is a powerful strategy. because it says, I want you of your own volition to cross the line and join me because I love you and because our shared humanity is more powerful than anything else in the room. I extend my hand and invite you. I invite you across. Everyone who has done moral injury carries the scars. We saw it when the Vietnam veterans returned home from the war over there. We've seen it in the aftermath of every war. We see it in the suicide rates among prison guards and police in our society. The biggest struggle those industries face is their own people killing themselves. That is what moral injury looks like. That's what it sounds like. That's where it stands. Don't do those folks the disservice of being yet another force trying to dehumanize them. Invite them back into humanity. I know it's hard. I know I'm asking you the impossible. I know it feels impossible. I don't need you to believe that it's a high percentage play. I need you to believe that it only ever was a fool's hope. Amen. As I was struggling with today's message, I found this quote from Marshall Rosenberg, who is the person behind nonviolent communication strategy. You can express any feeling you want, but the moment you imply that another human being is the cause of your feelings, violence has already begun. Amen, Ashe, Salam, blessed be. Go in peace. Until next time, thank you for joining us on The Pulpiteer. If you enjoyed the podcast, you can help others find it by liking and subscribing. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can make a donation at sangabrieluu.org/give. The Pulpiteer podcast is a production of the St. Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Georgetown, Texas. The podcast is hosted by Spotify, and theme music is by John Faber. Our live recording tech crew this week was Frank Sanders, Rob Bertol, Keith Hutchinson, and Andrea McDaniel. The podcast is produced and performed by Eric Hepburn. See you next time.